Now, as much as it's very painful for us as KEF, as much as it's very painful for us to lose students, but sometimes we can't avoid it. And it reaches the point where we have to discontinue you, okay? Or withdraw your scholarship. The first one is double sponsorship. Unaweza kuwa uko hapa hivi saa hii na already umekonfirmiwa na KCB na Equity kwa amekupatia scholarship. Yeah? Because wazazi wengi ni wajane. We've had cases where mtu anapata double scholarship, alafu anaenda kwa principal na kumwambia niliona kama KEF wamelipa, so nipatie hiyo pesa, Equity wanalipa bado. Yeah, we are not in that business. That is corruption. So double scholarship, it's immediate with discontinuation from us. Okay? Or else you decide. Do I want to keep KEF, or do I want to keep Equity, or do I want to keep KCB? It's immoral to want to have 3 scholarships at the same time, or 2 scholarships at the same time. That is immoral, okay? Because you're denying some students that chance. So if you have another scholarship, please reveal that or make a choice. So also we talked about your performance. You must attain 50% and above. And especially for this class, yeah, there are 65 of you. I'm not expecting anything below 50% from you. Okay? In fact, kama average yako ni 60%, ukipata below 60%, you might receive a call from us asking you why you're dropping. So endeni uko na mtikazi. So discontinuation can be through performance. We've talked about double scholarship. We've talked about forging term report forms. Now, and we also, if you don't send your documents for a whole year, tukiangalia record yako for a whole year, you have nothing. We will discontinue you because of that. Okay? And in discipline, if you're involved in strike, if you want to strike because you fike 18 years old, utakuwa ukienda kudemonstrate mambo ya IEBC sasa. Lakini for now, enda kwa shule, soma, strikes wachana nazo. Because you need to know channels of communication. If you have a grievance in school, there is definitely a better way of solving that problem. Kuliko kuchukua mawe kuvunja dirisha ama kwenda kuchoma library, and I wonder why kuwa watu wachome DH. Wachomani kitchen na wanaanza na library. So it doesn't make sense, okay? So, there are some of the things that KEF will cover for you fully, and one of them is the school fees. School fees will be covered, exam fees will be covered. There's the first package, like the one you've received, Dictionary, Kamusi, Atlas, set books and revision books. Set books and revision books will give you a maximum of 2,000. So that amounts to around 3 revision books. So you must select the books that you actually feel you need, okay? And the subjects that you feel you're weak in. We will also provide you uniform, Form 1 and Form 3 on reimbursement basis. Some schools provide uniforms, so we will pay to the school directly. We will also issue calculator. I think all of you have already received a calculator. We will also pay 1 educational trip per year, okay? Regardless of which one. So if you decide kwenda hapa Animal Orphanage na wanalipisha 200, that is fine for us. That will count as 1 academic trip for the year, okay? But a few months later, tukikuwa na trip ya kwenda Mombasa at 5,000, we will not pay that because we paid the one for 200. So you prioritize. So we'll also hiyo ni essential, hiyo Teresa ni essential. We will also provide sanitary towels. I think ladies already receive a package for, I think, a whole year. So you'll receive others during the workshops. Mosquito nets, where necessary. This one is where necessary, okay? There are places in Kisumu, it's inevitable to have a mosquito net, okay? So where necessary, we provide mosquito net. We don't buy mosquito net more than 350. I think hiyo sasa itakuwa ni executive, hiyo ni mbali, si ya shule. Then KF workshops. Hizo huwa tunalipa everything, accommodation, transport, kila kitu inakuanga kwa KF. Sawa sawa. So ukisikia mtoto wako anaitwa workshop, kila kitu tumelipia. Sawa sawa. Yeah. And then the crew, which is after Form 4. That one we will also cater for them. So some of the things we don't cater for, I think there is mandatory paperwork, transportation to school, personal items such as mattress, beddings, pillow, remedial, tuition fees, remedial tuition fees, pocket money, we don't. We used to give, but we no longer give. Medical assistance, tuition fees, any Harambee contributions, juu ya shule, juu ya wapi. PE kits, you can strike that through. We are going to provide PE kits. Damaged or lost school properties. Mkigoma mvunja madirisha, itishwe the 5,000 per student. Here to live. Okay? That has nothing to do with academics and religious books. We don't do any religious. We are not affiliated to any religious group. Okay? Yeah. So I think those are self-explanatory, and the reason why we don't provide those things ni kwa sababu hawa watoto bado ni wengi. Sawa sawa. Sisi hatujawaadapt. Sisi tunamsaidia. Okay? So kama mtoto anatumianga sabuni nyumbani, kwa nini utaki kumnunulia sabuni akienda shule? Nyumbani anatumia mattress. Kwa nini utaki aende na mattress shule? Okay? So we are not tupatii watoto zile vitu ambazo wewe kama mzazi zinafaa kuwa jukumu lako kama mzazi. Okay? So hizo hatutaweza kumsaidia. Hizo tunataka pia wewe. Wazazi wengine wakisema, unajua mimi pia nilipeleka mtoto form 1. Pia wewe unawaambia nilipeleka mtoto form 1. Sawa sawa? Kwa sababu pia wewe play part ya kupeleka mtoto form 1. Sawa sawa? Sisi tutakusaidia, lakini pia wewe play part yako. Mtoto wako akikuja na grade mbaya, amepata 30%, ni jukumu lako kwanza kumkaisha chini. Unamuuliza kwa nini anaingisha KF. Okay? Ni jukumu lako. Sawa sawa? So ukiangalia hapo mwisho kuna karatasi ambayo inakaa kama inaweza tolewa. Imeandikwa student parent guardian contract agreement. Okay? Hiyo form tutatujazia and then tutatuachia before mwende. Sawa sawa? Alafu ya mwisho ni parent consent form. Hiyo page ya mwisho kabisa imeandikwa parent consent form. The reason why tuko na hiyo ndio wakati tunapigia shule tunataka mwanafunzi akuje workshop. Walimu wengi huuliza, mzazi anajua. Okay? Sasa ukitusainia hii karatasi ni kumaanisha umetupatia ruhusa mtoto wako akuje workshop zetu. Sawa sawa? Yeah, so that's why tumetaka sana tumeomba mtujazie hizo. So kwa haya machache nitampatia nafasi kidogo muulize maswali.
Sasa ile fomu inamepewa haitaandikwa hiyo shule.
Imeandikwa shule gani?
Kanyekini Boys.
Yeah. Mimi hata ndo nilimtafutia Kanyekini Boys. Yeah, Kanyekini Boys iko kwenu. somewhere there. Tuko na mwanafunzi mwingine anaitwa Kanyekine hapa, sio? There's another boy anaitwa Kanyekine. Yeah. Kuna kijana anaitwa Kanyekine hapa. So, ukiangalia main grade ya hiyo shule yenye aliitwa na ya Kanyekine, tunaona tofauti kubwa sana. It's a very good school.
Tumetendea kama wazazi, lakini swali langu ni hili. Tuliambiwa ya kwamba mtoto anapelekwa shule ya Ambira.
Ati?
Tuliambiwa kwamba mtoto anapelekwa shule inaitwa Ambira.
Ambira High School.
Ambira.
Yes.
Na sasa hivi tunaona hapa ni Shianda.
Yeah?
Tunaona hapa kwa karatasi ni Shianda.
Shianda. Yeah, kuna zile zilishindikana. Tunaweza kuwa tulipigia Ambira High School, wakatuambia nafasi zao zimejaa. Unajua reporting time ya form 1 imebadilika. So pia kila kitu imekuwa kikimbizwa. So kuna shule ambazo tuambia kwa wakati huu hawana nafasi, tugojee mpaka second selection. Unaona? Lakini sasa sisi tulikuwa tunataka kuwa sure mtoto wetu ameitwa wapi. So ndio maana maybe tukambadilisha.
Kwa sababu ya usaidizi wenu, mimi swali langu ni mtoto wangu hakuitwa shule yoyote, na kuna proposal ulikuwa umenipea. Sasa nilikuwa ninataka by Monday nianze kutafuta shule. Sasa niambie vile nitafanya.
Hii wiki ya kwanza bado kuna interview tulikuwa tunafanya na bado tunatafuta shule. Okay? So kuna shule ambazo tumeambiwa tuko na nafasi yenye ya KEF, lakini unajua bado tulikuwa tumepata results tulipata za KCPE. So lazima tuwe na results za KCPE ndio tutumie shule wakuandia admission.
Lavi na Nyango na Dominic na Rangaik for the sessions you've just taken us through. Nafikiri mkisimama hapo mbele ya hawa wanafunzi, they can see themselves in the future. So it's possible, it's doable. Kwa hivyo msijione ati saa hii ndio mnaanza form 1 ati hii safari itakuwa mrefu sana. Hii safari inawezekana. Na as all you know here, we are preparing our own exit. Ndio wakati sisi tukitoka, nyinyi ndio mtakuja kuketi kwa ofisi zetu. Sawa sawa? Sasa hii kwa ofisi ya Kenya Education Fund tuko na staff members wale ambao mmewaona hapa kitambo kidogo, ambao ni wanne na walikuwa wanafunzi wa Kenya Education Fund. Kwa hivyo wakati mimi sitaki kusema kujiuzulu, wakati nitajihusisha na mambo mengine, sitakuwa vizuri sana watu wa Kenya Education Fund wakija kukalia kiti yangu. We could have said whatever she has said, but if we don't remember everything she has said, let's remember that this is the time we start putting our stories down. We start putting together a story to tell the next time we meet. Wengine wetu tutakutana mwezi wa 5, si ndio? Na tutaendelea hivyo, tukutane baada ya miezi 4. Kuna wengine wetu ambao tutakutana baada ya miaka 5, miaka 10. Wakati tutakutana, tutapeana story gani? What accounts are we going to share with each other? So let's start putting that story together so that the next time we meet, we have a very good story to tell. Thank you very much, Mrs. Wakani. I would like to take this last opportunity to invite our chief guest. She's also in education, and the chief executive officer wa shirika ambayo inaitwa Akili Dada, which is equally a scholarship organization just like Kenya Education Fund, only that they concentrate on girls. And not just offering educational opportunities to girls, but also empowerment and leadership opportunities. So I would like to invite Mrs. Purity Kagwira atusalimie na atuambie maneno mawili matatu. Asante sana.
Good afternoon. Habari ya kila mtu. Naona tusimame kidogo tuchangamke. Naona ni kama watu wengine I think nikajua kameziti. Yes, wacha nijiintroduce kwenu vizuri. Yes? So there is my name Purity Kagwira. But on the day I was born, my mom did not want to have a child. She already had a son, so there is me and my brother. Kuna mimi na ndugu yangu. Siku nilizaliwa, mama yangu vile aliulizwa na daktari, huyu mtoto tumuite nani? Alisema sijui. Kwa hivyo my first birth certificate had my grandmother's names, 2 of them. My mom didn't even want me to take her name. Sawa. Halafu sasa ndio huyo basi, si mtoto ndio huyo amekuja. So mama yangu, I think when she had me she was maybe 19 years old. Some of our alumni might be, some of them could be 19, the ones who finished school. So that's when my mom had me, and she already had another child when she was 17 years old. Then here I am now, she has 2 children. When she's having these 2 children, when she had my brother, she was married off to this man who she had this child with. Akaolewa, wakakaa. Sasa mimi nikizaliwa, huyu baba ya ndugu yangu, he was in prison. I think he had, I don't know what he had done, but he was in prison for 2 years. So it's very clear when I was born, I don't belong to this man, si ndio? Hapa tu venye nimezaliwa, this man gets out of prison, finds the wife, bibi mwenye aliacha na mtoto mmoja, sasa kona wa. So akasema so he came to my grandmother and said, mimi nataka kwenda na familia yangu. Familia yake ni nani? Ni mama yangu na ndugu yangu. Mimi nikabaki na nyanya yangu. So later on, I was asking my mom, in my culture, if you have a boy, it's possible that this boy, you want him to go to the father so that apate shamba. Si ndio? Sisi wote tunatolewa wazimu na shamba. Itaanza leo, si ndio? So nilikuwa namuuliza, why did you leave me with my grandmother? Kwa nini uliniacha na nyanya yangu na mimi ni msichana? Nikaanza kujiuliza hii maswali. Nikamuuliza, so it's very clear this man is not my father. Who is my father? This time I'm in high school. I'm 14 years old. I was in Form 2. My mom got very upset. Akasema, huyu nyanya yako hata ni anakufunza hizi mambo unaniuliza? Kwa nini unataka kujua babako ni nini umekosa? Unaona? Shida sasa hii ikakuwa vita hapa kwa hii goma between my mom and my grandmother. So nikaona wacha niache kuuliza hii maswali. I was a bright student. All along, my mom left me with my grandmother when I was 4 months old. So my grandmother brought me up with my grandfather. Then I finished Form 4, and when I was doing KCPE, then it used to be out of 700. So in my school, I was the second student in my district in terms of maths. So I was admitted to a good school, Moi Girls High School in Eldoret. Mama yangu all this time yeye ukuja anatutembelea wiki mbili anaenda. Na akikuja, so eventually aliachana na yule bwana yake akaenda kuishi huku Mandera, siku hizi tunaona kwa TV So hiyo siku hata ilikuwa kwa TV. I think Dominic might have gone there for some of your students. So my mom went to Mandera like in the 90s. So she would come every maybe 3 months or maybe once a year or twice. When she's straight, she'd come twice a year. She comes, ametuletea nguo nini. Mimi naendelea tu na maisha yangu. Nikamaliza Form 4. Nimepata, nimeitwa hii shule ya. Sasa unajua shida ya kuwa mashambani ni saa zingine ukiselect hizo shule hata ujui Kenya High iko wapi, si ndio? Hata hii Moi Girls Eldoret mimi sikuwa najua iko wapi. Then I didn't even think I'll score the marks to take me to a national school, but I did. So my mom comes, she sees my letter, she's like, where's the end huko? Si unaona mimi bado ni mdogo I have a 1-year boy. I mean, I've not grown much from when I was in high school. I'm expecting tanunuliwa sanduku. Mama yangu akasema, mimi sinunui sanduku. Kuna there was a box in our house for a long time. Sasa hiyo box ilipaintiwa. It was brown, akaipaint blue. Hiyo ndio box yangu ya kwenda shule. Akakuta anaongea kizungu hapo anaongea mbeleni. Ama usikii hata uelewe Biblia anasema. Lakini ukumbuke ni mtoto wako. Kama ulikuwa unamchuna masikio ukiona haendi vizuri, endelea kuchuna hata kama anaongea kizungu. Hiyo masikio kuchuna ndio itamweka kwa ile njia itafanya afanyishe kazi hii scholarship amepata. Wachana nao ni maskini. Lakini inaweza kuwa huyu mtoto, inaweza kuwa wewe as a student, you're the one who will change the narrative of that school. So if you feel of that hope, so if you feel discouraged kabisa, nikumbuke, sawa? Nikumbuke na ujue maisha inaweza badilika. Inaweza badilishwa na masomo, working hard and diligence. Fanya kama hiyo hesabu ushiki, fanya mpaka hata usikie ni kama akili inaruka, lakini utaishika. The more you do it, the more you become better at it. The more you remain focused on your dream, the more you work towards achieving it.
Abednego Lapana, Andrew Otieno Opio, akifuatiwa na Bivon Ondicho.
Bivon Ondicho, Bradley Akwamba Aluda, Cherop Evelyn, Collins Mbidi, akifuatwa na Cyril Sanya Otieno, Sanya afuatwa na Damaris Ndenya Richard,
My name is Purity Kagweria. I am the Executive Director of Akili Data.
Today you are the chief guest during the KEF Orientation Fund. Tell us a little bit about the whole financing that has been done by KEF. That scholarship project, what do you think about it?
I think what Kenya Education Fund does by giving scholarships to girls and boys from needy households to pursue their high school education is really a very noble idea, because I believe that education does change lives, does change people's mindsets. It also carries a lot of weight for how people see themselves and what they end up doing in the future. So for anyone who's able to avail another person a chance at education, and in this case quality education, because these kids are going to some of the best schools in this country.
When was the last time you visited that, we call them the Pouring Booth primary schools, that we only visit 5 years?
Yeah, when we are voting.
What about that kind of giving? When you go back to that village, that community, and you say, okay, I don't have a lot of money to give, but I have the time. I have the contact and the know-how. And you have somehow mobilize the community and let them know all the graduates who are going from one. Then bring them together. I'm not looking for any votes, but I want to have a word with you.
Exactly.
What about that kind of giving?
That would work too. And in fact, I'm a firm believer that your community is not necessarily where you grew up. Because we also have this thing of we want to go back to the village. Some people still go to vote there and they don't even live there. Which is ridiculous. Is that we end up with strange people in power, right? Because I now left Nairobi to go vote in my village.
Yes.
I believe community is where you are at. So today if I live in Murang'a, that is my community. Whether I come from Kisumu, it doesn't matter. If I develop Murang'a, it works. I mean, I develop it because I am living there now. When I move back to Kisumu, I can develop Kisumu and vice versa. You know, I think as Kenyans we need to stop also being really tied down to this is where I was born, this is where my roots are. If we saw our country holistically as it's my country, I can live anywhere. I think even some of the divisions we have that are mostly caused even by politicians based on our tribe or you know, some places.
The concept of belonging.
The concept of belonging, we need to see we belong to this country. That is all that matters. That is the first thing. That should be our first identity.
During your speech, you did comment the issue of the scholars that they should not feel very weak, self-esteem issues, I think. Please bring it up.
Yeah, because part of it is because we are such a shaming culture as a country, as a society. We like to look at the negative things and then amplify those things about people or families. So for instance, a kid who's received a scholarship and has ended up to one of the national schools. The national schools will admit kids from various backgrounds. You find a kid who's coming from a really wealthy background and this one who's from a poor household. And these eventually, because anyway, they're all starting from the same start point of we are here to study. Eventually, if this one from a poor background ends up doing well, then people will find things to taunt them and tell them, oh, but after all, you are, you don't have this, you don't have, 6 pairs of white socks, you don't have shoe polish, sometimes maybe she'll run out of toothpaste.
Or I want you now to give the parting shot, and I want you to address the parent. The very final closing remark. And I'm imagining that this parent was in the hall.
Yeah.
Speak straight to him, because at least a big burden has been lifted from him for 4 years. What role does he have to play to ensure that he does not step back?
Yeah.
Those will be the closing remarks.
Yeah. I think for the parents, I'd say, again, this is your child. Nothing has changed about them being your child and your responsibility to ensure that you're bringing up a world-class citizen, a person who will be responsible not only for themselves but for others in the society. So with that recognition, parents need to understand that just because your child has gotten a scholarship, that does not take away your responsibility as a parent. If anything, you need to actually be a bit, watch over this kid, because if he or she loses this scholarship, the burden is back to you. The responsibility comes back. And let's not forget why this child got this scholarship in the first place. Yes, they are bright, but it's also because you as a parent, you're not able to afford that money at this time. That doesn't mean it won't change. I've seen, and I know KEF will have many testaments of when they've given a scholarship in one household, there's a lot of change in that household. The parents, they're even able to afford just even 3 meals a day or take another kid to school. So in those, recognizing what this scholarship has done at this household level for the parent, I think needs to be on the forefront to ensure that they're not taking it lightly. We are not being ungrateful and saying, make a scholarship, and not seeing the impact even of what this scholarship is allowing you to do. Maybe you are earning, if you have a job, maybe the parent was earning maybe 5,000. This 5,000 now is like 10 or more, because you can do many other things with this money. So just recognizing the impact of this scholarship and ensuring that you're celebrating that as a household and putting the necessary pressure, not too much pressure.
What can they do to top up? They may not top up in the school fees, where the fees is catered for. What else can they do to top up? And
they can top up. Sometimes you find that a child has gotten a scholarship, and then the parent says they can't. Like, this child will stay home for maybe a week because the parent did not have transport for the child to go back to school. And for me, I'm very strict on that. I'm always like, did you know your child needs school fees? When did they close school 3 weeks ago? Those 3 weeks ago, you could have done something to ensure that you can afford that 1,000. You can give them that 1,000 more to go back to school. Because when they don't, they miss those opening cuts that they do, which means it's going to affect their grade. Which means eventually
they risk the scholarship.
You see, so I just tell the parents very, very clearly that as a parent, don't. Yes, accept help, but also don't just sit on your legs and decide, after all, we are being assisted. Pull yourself, just...
Please tell us.
My name is Pauline Wanja.
Pauline Wanja.
Yes.
Pauline Wanja is the country director
of Future First Kenya.
Future First Kenya. Tell us about.
Okay, we're part of a global movement to build alumni communities. For the first time in public schools. The idea is in privileged and elite schools, that is already organized. So for the first time, we have an organization that's looking to grow alumni communities globally in public schools. So
globally in public schools in Kenya for the first time?
Yes.
Since when? When was
We've been here since 2012.
Oh, 2012?
Yes.
So old?
Yeah, we are a bit old, so it's a shame we haven't interacted. Yeah, so we've been here since 2012. At 2012, we did a global research that was looking into the propensity of adults to give back to their former school. And Kenya had one of the highest. Globally, on average, it's 52% of the people we surveyed want to give back to the former school, and at least 2% is doing that. In Kenya, the number is 78%. The Kenyan adult population want to give back to the former school.
They are willing to give back.
They are willing to give
They are
back.
both willing and they are also able to.
1% is doing it. Only 1%.
Only 1%
of the 78.
Why not? What are the hindrances?
Some is lack of a coordination, and no one is asking them, right? When you leave school, no one ever writes or talks to you about giving back. So, but in some of the privileged schools, I wouldn't call them privileged, like national schools. Starehe, Alliance, Nairobi School, they have structured alumni association and they're asking. But nationally and working with schools, just beyond national school, people are willing to give back, just that they don't have the structures. Like I said, no one is asking them.
No one is asking them.
No one is asking them.
Your association and Kenya Education Fund, what's the connection that you have?
Okay. We're just looking into, they recently registered an alumni association for the Kenya Education alumni who go through the system, and now they are seeking for support from us, given that we have the expertise in building in alumni relations. So that's one of the key support, one of our key interactions with Kenya Education Fund. But beyond that, is also looking into just not even the schools these kids go to, do they have alumni and how can they support? And it's beyond just giving fund. It's also on mentorship and career. And I think the reason the alumni model is very strong is the relatability. Kids go through the same school. Like if you went to, say, I went to Kagwe Girls. Kagwe Girls in Githunguri. When you go back to that school, the kids, there's a sense of relatability. Yes. As opposed to you getting a girl from Kenya High or Nairobi School, you know, they went to Kenya High School, that's a better school. But if it's people who went through the same system, school, then you ask why not. Yeah, so that's been very exciting. But the idea is alumni and giving back, and also that's what KF, I know they're funded externally, but also what are some of the things, can alumni be part of such a process as well?
What exactly do you focus on? When we talk about giving back, do you insist on money, cash giving back, or do you go beyond cash in terms of giving back to the society, maybe to a school, and lifting the community that you came back from, especially with specific regard to a school that you share with your educators?
When it started out, the emphasis was on job transition. How do you support kids who are in school, or even when they're school, have alumni talk about jobs? The job market has changed a lot, and probably the teachers can't keep in touch, or can't keep in pace. But the alumni, it's a challenge. They have space for career guidance, but they're not facilitated. So when we started out, the major thing we were asking of alumni is, can you come back and talk to the students about school? At Form 2, the students are choosing subjects. How do you choose? How do you go about the process? How do you guide them? Like, did it affect the career you chose? How serious is choosing subjects? Anyway, if they hear it from alumni, then they are, I think, better informed. And another thing is, as they were graduating, having alumni, as they were leaving full, having alumni talk about what are the next steps. Most of the time when you're choosing even degrees, you choose based on no information at all. But the more you interact with the alumni, they're all in this field. Some really like what I do, some would have made different choices. So it's good to have this conversation before you get into the university.
And how do you deal with the issue of generation gaps? Because I have had an experience whereby you cannot come and you form a WhatsApp group. And there's this guy who graduated in the year 1990, and one graduated in the last year, 2017. I mean, the stories I read about your school are very strange. The names that they're using, the monikers we give, the nicknames we give to teachers. There's this teacher who was there yesterday, they called him this. I give that name, that one is a two-word, or who is that? How do you deal with generation gaps?
Ideally, when we thought we'd just have an umbrella body, but that's not also possible because of the generation. So you're encouraging people to relate to their peers, right? Because you probably even share more. You share histories, you share moments in school. So you'll be relating with a peer, and then seeing how this substructured organization relate to like a national body. And I think one of a good example I've seen is Starehe, them having one an alumni association, and then they have year groups, like each year has a representative who can be part of the meeting.
A spreading of a series of years of 1 year cohorts, called by the year?
It depends how people connect. Probably I in the 4 years I don't remember, but I remember people from my class.
My own class.
Yeah, so, and then there's the beauty of letting these groups self-define. Because people, if you feel a connection to an entire 4-year period, that's okay. But there's a group that just feels, even just to their class, not a year, and that's okay. So
don't you run the risk of having so many subgroups and which you lose control of?
Yeah, there's that risk of having so many subgroups, but then what will be the disadvantage of having so many subgroups?
Loss of control and loss of focus. I mean, you're talking about the same school. Or I have had a case whereby you have, he was a few years ahead of me, and then he goes, he organizes something. And the next thing I hear, there was a group of old boys who visited that school, and I'm not aware. I'm like, then the next day I go being very nice, then other people complain because they are so what of basic segmented.
Okay, for us I think the focus is like what they want to do. Probably it's also a communication. Probably you guys want to build a football pitch. There's a group that feels of doing something. The idea will be like open up the line of communication. And another thing, from our programming, we've developed a 6-month training called Alumni Leadership Training. And one of the things we're looking at is volunteer management. How do you let this group self-define, yet still finding a way that connects them generally, which is the school. Yeah, so I know it's a challenge, and most groups are facing that, but probably centralizing it may not be the solution. And also, just if there are too many substructured, how does it feel as one whole? So it's one thing also we as an organization looking into who else is doing it, how are they handling the autonomous group of an alumni association.
Okay.
Yes.
Still coming back to KEF Alumni Association, and you, to what extent can they be really effective as far as giving back and supporting the people, the beneficiaries, like the people who are giving the scholarship today? How do you envisage to make it really effective so that people can really see that alumni can lift the younger ones?
I think especially with KEF, if they've been doing this for a long time, they have alumni who are already in the job space. One of the things they can do, the idea is, the one thing we keep looking at, how do you make this not just about money? Because even some of those students you're talking to, KEF has already given them the money. They probably need more, like motivation and speak. So also expanding what alumni can do, so it's not limited to one thing. And in terms of KEF, I just had a great conversation with the association leader, and some of the challenges we're raising is on volunteer management. Like it's over 1,000 people in different regions. How do you do that? So supporting them to see that process. It's a
coordinating their volunteers.
Coordinating and managing their volunteers. It's also how do you even get creative in raising funds. And also we have an annual alumni conference. And the idea is to bring people, different alumni association leaders together for a peer exchange. How you managing your alumni. It's also for us we get to learn, but also for the peer, the alumni, they get to learn among peers how this works.
Okay.
Yes.
Closing remarks. What appeal do you want to make to all those the scholars who got their scholarship today, 65 of them? Through them, 5 years from now, when they're through with college, what do you want them to work towards, and maybe later on being able to give back in a certain alumni in the school that they go to?
One is
those are the closing remarks now.
Just one that is giving back. Somebody had to sacrifice for them to go to school. So as they go away, I would hope they remember that, to just reach out to someone else, like pour it forward. And then the conversation earlier were on esteem and poverty and what it does to the esteem of the kids. So I'd hope that they forget, not like really forget, like they get mentors on the way who show them like it doesn't matter where you come from, you can be what you want to be. And right now they get to go to in school for 4 years with peace of mind. Their school fees is catered for. That's a privilege even some kids from just normal family would have.
They don't have a guarantee.
They don't have guarantee. Here they get a guarantee. And they should take it as a privilege to shield, like, yeah. So taking that as a privilege and not really worrying where they come from, and that's their one entry of privilege. Like 4 years, your school fees is paid for, they have mentors, they have supplies, and I hope they take that instead of just looking at one thing where maybe from this moment, when education is matter, they're not really needy. And I think with KF and other partners like Lidaza, we come in and feed the mentorship, their life skills, and making sure their esteem is not bashed so much by where they came from. So, yeah.
My name is Francis Ngana.
Tell us about you alone in KEF and who KEF is.
Well, Kenya Education Fund, first of all, is my former sponsor. Back in 2007, I cleared my fourth form in 2004. And after that, because I was in a day school, I obviously had a huge imbalance.
Yes.
But I met this friend who asked me, what can I give you before I leave to go back to US? And I said, the best thing you can do is to provide me education. So if you go back there, just figure out something that can help me go back to school. So
by that time you cleared Form 4?
That time I had cleared Form 4. I was in a day school, in a very small school in Eldoret, and called Umoja Secondary. But then there was that transition period. I missed 1 mark for the university entry, so I only had an option to join technical college. So, but I didn't have funds. And this American friend could see, because she was a Peace Corps volunteer in Kenya, she could see the struggle and everything at home. So that's why she offered, should I leave you with some money to start a business, or what would you want? And I opted for education. So after that, I don't know, by coincidence, but when they went back to US, they linked up with the Kenya Education Fund. And now that's how
you started becoming a beneficiary.
Yes.
So KEF that time sponsored you for what?
They sponsored me to in Kenya Polytechnic to do mechanical engineering in plant option. So for the 3 years in college, I was a beneficiary of KEF.
So you're telling me I'm talking to an engineer?
Yes.
A plant engineer?
I'm talking to a technician in engineering field. Yeah.
That's interesting. Then what time did you join KEF as a volunteer? You were giving back to KEF? Or?
Well, in 2009, I had just cleared my exams with Kenya Polytechnic. And as I was clearing, I also had to clear with KEF.
Yes.
But then I met Dominic, and I told him, whatever you may find out there, whatever job you might find out there, please link me up, because I don't want to go back to Eldoret. The life is very harsh back there. So, then something, I think it was at a period where KEF was also expanding. It needed more resources and capacity.
Yes.
So they called me for an interview. And out of the many that were interviewed, I emerged successful. So from 2010, I became the logistics manager for Kenya Education Fund.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So let's now go down to KEF. As a logistics manager, give us an overview. Let the viewer hear how exactly the mechanics, where you start from, so that you're able to do, get the applicants, they go through the interview process until somebody becomes a KEF sponsored scholar. In very simple steps.
Well, I think the first and the first step is to get the KEF scholar, the KEF application form. We print around, last year we printed around 5,000. And now these 5,000 we distribute them in different regions of the country. It could be a primary school, a high school, or an organization that is in an area where we are not able to access. So we use such mechanism to get our application forms out. There's also those others, the parents who come to the office to collect them. We also allow that. Then that period, that process takes from March to 31st of August.
That's the application process.
That is just applying, returning the application forms, applying, returning the application forms. Then after that, now we start checking. Is the application form complete? If it's not complete, we put it aside. We only consider those who took time to fill the application form and attached all the documentation. Now those ones, we scan all of them. We put them, there's a cloud called SugarSync. We upload them to the SugarSync, and then after that, we share them with the committee in USA. The reason why we use the committee in USA is because they don't know you. They don't know who is a Nomondi. They don't know Nomondi is a Luo. They don't know Akamau is a Kikuyu.
They have no biases.
So they are not biased.
Yes.
So the list that will come back to us is very objective and it's based on the application form. So now when the shortlist comes back, after they have reviewed, checked all the application forms, they are certain that these are the best candidates. Now when it comes back, it's our job now to start interviews. We call all of them based on the region where you are. If you're in Meru, we'll hold our interviews around Meru. Last year we did it at Kaga Boys High School. So they will all congregate there, we do the interview for one day, and then we move to the next town. The process now, that process takes around 1 or 2 weeks. Then from there we come back to the office, we meet, and then we start talking about the stories we had. Like in my region, this student really stood out, and this is because of why. Then from there now we come up with a final list.
Now that the application starts in March,
yes,
and I want to limit myself to primary school transition.
Yeah.
If the application starts in March, and then the final score comes up after KCPE results are out, how do you ensure that there is no disadvantage maybe to someone who they didn't know about KE but they have got the results and they don't have the money and they didn't help? Are they not too late by that time? How do you moderate that to ensure that there isn't a lot of disadvantage to the late years, the ones who get to know about KEF too late in the day?
First of all, there is a reason why we use our format. Because we don't want to be influenced by your good grades. We want to be influenced by your story, your level of need, and your determination to succeed. But then after KCPE, many people who will come to us are only those who had done well. And my kid had 400. They are needy. Please assist. But you see, our cutoff points is very low. It's at 290. A 290 person will not come to the office after the KCPE is over. They know NGOs that support students in high school want grades, good grades. But you see now, we know there are challenges that make some of the students perform well. And that's why we want to hear their stories before they even sit for the exam.
So you want to establish the level of need more than
the score. So that the score, we can deal with the score later. We can sit with the student, say they have potential, and then we take them, especially through our workshop. We talk to them one-on-one. And this kid turns out to be the best in their class.
You can lift from low levels for then to higher levels by through other interventions.
Yes.
Okay. Then this issue of the disqualifiers. There are so many things you say, the do's and the don'ts.
Yes.
Please mention what are the expectations that you expect the student to do to sustain the scholarship for the 4 years, and what are some of the things that if they do, are they likely to jeopardize their scholarship?
Well, we are in the education sector, so obviously grades is one of the important things. We don't want our student, we don't ask our student to score an A, but we tell them to maintain a minimum of 50%. At least that we are sure. they are working on something to achieve their success. Okay, that is a C+, right? And we want all of them to score C+ and above. So we push them towards that. And then and then the issue of the documents. They need to communicate to their sponsors.
Give up the feedback or timely message?
Yes, their sponsors need to hear from them.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're contributing money. The least they can get is a letter.
Yes.
So we need those. We need them to communicate to the office in case of fees. When the fees are needed or they are being sent home or something like that, we need them to communicate to us. So the documentation is actually the key to keeping your scholarship.
Yes.
Yeah. But to lose the scholarship, it's also based on performance. We give a student 3 chances. Once you fail, and it's 3 chances in a year, like this year has started. A student who scores below 50% by 3rd term, the 3rd term until 3rd term, those ones, we don't discontinue them immediately.
No.
We call them.
You give them a chance to make up in the next term.
No, we call them first. We tell them you have scored below 50% 3 times. Can you tell us why?
Yes.
Maybe they were sick. Maybe something happened in the family and they were disadvantaged at some level. Or maybe they were just not working hard. We need to know this. What are the dynamics that caused you to perform poorly? Then you can make a decision.
And the KEF always sponsors scholars. They are bonus. Scholars. So if it's going to be a decline in performance, then it should be something surrounding the environment
inside the school.
Okay.
Yeah. So some are stressed. You know, some of these students come from very challenged families. So maybe some of them may be due to stress. And you have to be very creative to get these stories out from the students. Yeah.
How do you see to it as a logistics person? How do you see it with that you remove the element of low self-esteem? Because while it is true when you're doing the ceremony, you tell them you are no longer needed, the feeling may still be in them. How do you counter that all the time?
That one we counter mostly during the workshops. When they come to the workshop, they come 80 of them. They are all needy.
Yes.
When they came to our scholarship, when they applied, they were individual. They thought they were alone.
Yes.
I'm the only one in our family, in our community. But then when they come and they interact with these other students, they realize their stories are not unique. These other students are also suffering the same things. And then from there, they change their mindset. Like, you know what, this is my life. If I don't change it as an individual, nobody is going to do this for me. And the workshop has actually really worked well to our advantage and to their advantage.
Lifting them, removing that feelings of...
like I'm destitute. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
comment about the Kenya KEF Alumni Association. You are an alumni, you are beneficiary.
yes.
What is it doing and what is it intending to do to enhance the KEF nation?
The goal behind Alumni Association is to be able to sustain KEF in future.
Yes.
Like, it is true we rely mostly on foreign donors. But what if we have a strong alumni association that is able to fund KEF the same way it's being funded right now? Yeah? Maybe the donations we get from abroad will even be able to expand our roots to the country. But right now, the Alumni Association, I'm not an official because I'm a staff here, so to avoid the conflict of interest. So, but the goal behind it is to be able to support students in future at a high level. But right now, what the Alumni Association is doing is to help to assist the outcome. In terms of mentorship workshops, they come and assist us, they volunteer. In terms of accessories like the geometrical set they have donated, sometimes they donate writing pens and writing materials. So they're just chipping in but we don't have such a strong base because KEF is still young. It's not very old. It's 9 years old. Yeah? So we don't have so many people who completed university and they're actually on their working level.
But you're getting there.
But
slowly
that's,
by slowly.
yeah, slowly by slowly, that's where we're getting right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well. I want you to conclude by addressing the issue of the role of the parent. You have given a guarantee scholarship for 4 years,
Yes.
which if the student performs, achieves 70% above, is likely to be maintained. And maybe, Andy mentioned that if even the child, the learner could be even more advantaged and even get some sponsorship for the university.
Yeah.
I want you to conclude by praising the role of the parent. How do you want the parent, what role do you want him to play to ensure that at no one time does he become maybe a barrier or doesn't feel like he can now wash his hands off the learning process? What role do you give the parent to ensure the parent becomes a relevant support?
First of all, we try to make it very clear to the parent. Yes. We are not adopting their children. Yes. These are their kids. They should do their part. They should do their roles the same way, even if our scholarship was not there. The only thing we are coming in to help and assist is school fees. Yes. Yeah? And a few essentials. Yes. But their role is to make sure their kid grow in a holistic manner. That is their job. So that's why we don't purchase some things like mattresses, do shopping for them, because we want them to feel they're part of the process. Yes. Yeah, we want them to feel they're part of the process. Because the moment you do everything for them, you do shopping and everything, that is an adoption on its own. But the parent need to know these are their kids. And this is my roles. I need to do ABCD. Yeah. So.
Thank you very much, Francis. It was nice talking to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon to you.
Please let us know your name.
My name is Dominic Mwasia, the country director and also the co-founder Kenya Education Fund.
Today was a big day for you.
Yes, it was.
What's happened?
Today was one of those important days in the Kenya Education Fund calendar. It marked the culmination or the climax of the application process, where we were giving or awarding the successful candidates or applicants a confirmation of the scholarship that they have won after a very lengthy application process, which started way back last year, around the month of March, and which came to an end today. So today was their first day as members of the Kenya Education Fund family.
Right. How many scholars did you have today? How many awards did you make today?
Today we gave about 65 scholarships to boys and girls from all parts of this country who are going to enjoy a full package starting now for the next 4 years.
Can you let us know, when you say full package, what exactly do you cover in your scholarship?
Full package here means that we are going to pay their fees in full, whatever is prescribed by the schools that they are joining in the fee structure. We are going to cater for that. We will also buy them uniforms. We will buy them textbooks. We will buy them school shoes. We will also pay for the academic trips. So the package is actually complete. Unlike in different situations where organization will either pay partial or maybe up to the school fees.
I heard you mention that you were able to give 65 scholars today,
yes,
out of around 5,000 applicants.
Yes.
Please comment on the level of need according to experience.
The level of need in this country, unfortunately, is still huge. And in some cases, we think it's growing because the number of applications or applicants we get each year keeps on going up. There's a time when we could only get maybe 100 applications. But as people continue to be aware, to get information about the opportunities, then more people are applying, which is an exhibition of how needy people are. So if you look at the total number, the 5,000 who applied, and then the 65 who actually got the scholarship, that's a very small percentage.
What are you going to do about that? What do you think needs to be done? Maybe KEF may not be able to do better than that, but I think you could, I don't know. At 65 out of 5,000. What can be done to widen?
Well, first of all, I don't think there is any single organization that can meet the educational needs of our society. So we have to have concerted efforts. As much as the organizations, not just KEF, but others like Akiridada, EFAC, and others, continue to invest in this. We appeal to maybe the government to make education more affordable, so that more people are able to go to school without external assistance like by us. But also appeal to other individuals who have money or the other have some means to be able to support more people. Sometimes there is this notion that we wait until we have a lot of money for us to be able to support a needy person. But it is these small amounts that eventually make a difference when they become cumulative. If you give 10,000, if I give 2,000, someone else gives whatever they can, then at the end of the day that will be enough to take a student to school.
Okay. You tell us about who you are able to sponsor and who you are not able to sponsor in terms of eligibility of candidates that you sponsor.
There are things that we look at. We don't just focus on the KCPE score or the academic performance or ability alone. We look at the background situation of the applicant. Are they orphans? Do they come from a disease situation? Are they displaced? Are they vulnerable for one or two reasons? For example, early marriage, or FGM, or any other adverse cultural practice. So if we are convinced that this child will not be able to proceed to high school unless otherwise assisted, then that becomes a candidate of interest. Of course, being an educational organization, they have to have the academic potential. So we wait for their KCPE score, and our minimum cutoff is 290. 290. I know it feels very low, and that makes us one of the most inclusive organizations in the sector. But then, if they come from very challenged backgrounds, very vulnerable situations like the ones we've just mentioned, then we believe they have the potential to benefit from the opportunity.
Okay. Now, this 65 that you have offered, what is the reach in terms of geographical zone, the counties? How many counties are you able to, are they spread out or are they concentrated around a few counties that maybe have the advantage of getting to know about KEF? What's the spread in terms of the catchment of this 65 that you are dealing with today?
We are national. We are national in the sense that we support kids from, or rather scholars from all over the country. So most of the counties are actually represented in the 65 that you've seen. And the only reason why we are maybe slightly more than 47 is because Nairobi tends to be advantaged because of access to information, but also access to our office. And the majority of the persons we have sponsored from Nairobi come from Kibera and Mathare.
I heard you mention about a number of schools, kind of a network of schools that already you have worked with, you have a good working relationship. How many are there and where are they still again?
Currently, we are working with 252 high schools.
252.
The year before we had 320 high schools. And we are trying to bring this number down, so that we can have fewer schools, but then have more students in each school and strengthen the relationship so that we're able to relate better, we are able to expand the education opportunity for our students who go to that school, and we are trying to scale down. So it took us a process to analyze the schools we've worked with for a long time. Do they meet our criteria? Do they understand Kenya Education Fund? Are we able to meet their requirements? And we reached an understanding. We even called for a meeting and discussions with the principals, and agreed that we are a good fit for one another. And we want to eventually be able to work with 100 to 150 high schools.
You intend to bring it further down?
Yes, to 150.
What are the kind of expectations that maybe you'll be placing on the prospective 150 secondary schools that we want to work with. What are the minimum expectations? We have a net clean fit with them.
Well, one is that first of all, we have already identified the schools.
Yes.
And even the ones that we are still working with who will not make the final list, we are just grandfathering the students who are there to finish, and then we are done away with that. One is geographical distribution. Are we able to, save the kid from traveling so far? So if they come from Turkana, is there a good school in that area instead of bringing them to Nairobi? But a school which meets the academic standards and other standards of interest. This school, is it able to understand how Kenya Education Fund works? We are an NGO, and once we make a commitment that we support this kid, then we are going to stand by that. Are they able to honor that? If there's a problem, are they able to call us and say we are having an issue with your student? Are you able to do 1, 2, 3? How can we resolve this? Because there are other schools who don't care. If there's an issue, they will call the student and send them away.
Ceremoniously, without involving you as a sponsor.
Without involving the sponsor or even the parent. Okay. And we know it's not the students who pay the fee. It's either the parent or it's the sponsor or someone else. So those are some of the things that we look at. Also, in addition, do they have the academic standards? And are they able sometimes maybe to be patient with us? Because sometimes there are processes that we have to follow. Are they able to wait until we go through the necessary processing? Are they able to send those documents that we need for us to be able to operate the remote work?
Okay, then I think if I'm not wrong, you deal with only with boarding scholars. And there's two questions. Is it the case? And if it is the case, what do you say about equality? In this case, this child who is in a day school, why do you prefer to organize seemingly at the expense of this other needy child who may even be comfortable doing in a day school?
There are various ways of looking at it. One, most of our day schools in the country, unfortunately, do not benefit from reasonable investments by the government.
Yes.
So they lack facilities, or they are understaffed, or maybe they don't meet all the necessary standards that a school would offer a child to fully succeed. That is number one. Number two, our students already come from very vulnerable situations.
Yes.
So they're going back and forth may get to a point where the student is not able to go to school the following day because they have to take care of someone, or maybe they even lack the transport to go to school. So we would like them to be comfortable and rest assured that everything is taken care of and concentrate on reading. Yeah.
So that you prefer they become modest.
Yeah. Again, day schools are fairly cheap. Yeah, so we may not necessarily need to support someone who is going to a day school. They are highly subsidized by the government.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the conditions for sustaining the scholarship and the conditions that are going to jeopardize the scholarship. Address now the beneficiaries, maybe the current beneficiary 65 and then the prospective. What are the conditions? I went through your students' handbook and there are a number of do's and don'ts to sustain the scholarship, as well as things that they can do which will put the scholarship at risk.
Yeah. One is to maintain good academic performance.
Yes.
The way we define good is that you should never score below 50% on average for 3 consecutive times. When we were selecting a student, we were convinced that they have the potential to survive in a competitive school environment.
Yes.
And so they need not to score below that. So if they do that, then they will lose the scholarship. Another one is that they need to, not forge documents, for example. If, we have very smart students. They get a C plus, a C minus or a B minus.
And they do something.
And they decide the teacher was wrong, adding this grade.
Yes.
So they easily make it a plus. So if you forge a document, then you automatically lose the scholarship. Not just because of forging, but also because we are trying to bring them up as people of integrity, people who are responsible and accountable. We don't allow students to have 2 scholarships. So if they happen to be lucky and get another scholarship, then they need to forfeit hours so that we can, give the opportunity to another student. We don't allow students to self-transfer. So sometimes a student will feel, I'm not in good terms with this teacher, or all of a sudden this place has become too cold for me, I want to go to another school. So we don't allow them to self-transfer.
How would you manage a transfer to ensure that in the instant that it's actually a need for transfer, it is well managed? How would you handle that?
And we do allow such transfers. We require the student to write a letter and explain to us why at this point they need to.
They feel like moving from this school.
Moving to another school. And sometimes kids will go to a new environment that may not augur very well with their health. And they need to go to a better place. We've also had situations where students actually is better off being in a day school so that parents can take care of them for whatever reason. Or maybe, there's poor management in that school generally. It's not only our student who is complaining. There's a general feeling that standards are going down because of integral issues and all. So we do allow them to transfer. So they will write a letter, explain to us those reasons why they wish to transfer. And we ask them to get a school which meets our standards. And they already know our standards. Or in some cases, we actually help them get a school from one of our partner schools.
Can you comment on the issue of awareness? To what extent do you feel like Kenyans are aware of KEF?
I would think not a big number of Kenyans are aware of the Kenya Education Fund. I think there's a huge room for improvement in that regard. One, because we don't advertise, we have never advertised, we don't put posters or whatever other material to create awareness. So the current level of awareness has come as a result of person-to-person interactions. Or maybe some
beneficiaries
referrals, the referral system, the word of mouth, taking advantage of forums like when there's a meeting, a stakeholders forum, that's when we talk about the Kenya Education Fund. And I would say, looking at it that way, we're actually fairly at a reasonable level because we are now known in the whole country, but not by everyone. Because we started with
my concern as far as the awareness is concerned is disenfranchisement. So that one who doesn't know he's in media, he has the potential, but hasn't got the weight of KEF. So as much as it could have been more needed than the one that we got. So anyway, it's a question of trade-off. Everyone comes with. Okay. Tell us, give us a vision. You have come so far from 2012. Where do you want to go next? Let's say the next 5 years from now, with the many good things that I'm seeing with you, what we've been able to score so far. Where are you looking at the event horizon?
My vision, or the vision of the KEF, is to have a poverty-free society. I'm not sure whether that's achievable, but we would like to play a role towards achieving that, where KEF doesn't need to exist, where Kilida and other organizations do not need to exist, because there's less poverty in the society, either because the government has invested enough, or people are adequately empowered to be able to afford their own education. In the is there something like mid-long term? We would like to be able to support up to 5,000 active students.